Okay, so we'll start with the new key, very much the same as the old key, with your lock button at the top, your unlock button in the middle, and your boot release at the bottom. The tailgate release, of course, you've got to just hold it for about a second, or a bit less than a second, to release the tailgate. And pushing it again will lower the tailgate. These cars have hands-free access, so long as you have your key in your hand. A kick under the rear of the car, directly under the star, will release the tailgate, and then a kick in the same place will lower the tailgate. If you have a tow bar, that function doesn't work. The car can be unlocked and locked from the door handle. So a little square on the outside of the door handle there, if you touch that, the car will lock. And the inside of the door handle, the car will unlock. Seat controls can be found on the door. So you have the 4 different switches here: the headrest, the backrest to move the seat forward and backwards, this one here to move the seat forward and backwards. This extends under the knees. Here, there we go. And of course we can also move the seat up and down with this switch here. On the door is also the heated seats and the ventilated seats button. Not all cars have this function. The windows are on the door, the window controls are on the door, the button at the bottom here to lock out them so they can't be used by the children in the back. And your mirror controls are here. Just select the left or the right and then use the touchpad to move them around. The button in the middle there, that is to fold the wing mirrors in. The tailgate can be opened from inside the car with the switch just in the bottom of the door there. The little panel inside the door here is where you can find your headlights. They're of course on automatic. If you've had Benzes before, you'll obviously know that they turn on when it's dark and turn off when it's light. High beam is controlled with this controller here. Just push that away from you to activate the high beam. And the high beam is also automatic, so it will dip for you with oncoming traffic. If you're not happy with how that's working, you can change this from auto to on, and then you can control the high beam yourself. The electric handbrake is also part of this little cluster of switches, and the handbrake will operate automatically in 90% of the cases, but if the car recognises a safety concern, it may not release the handbrake, in which case you just put your foot on the brake and release the handbrake from here. The gear shifter is on the column, pushing this down for drive, up for reverse, and the button on the end, if I get around there, puts the car into park. When you turn the car off, it will go into park automatically anyhow. Indicators and wipers can be found on the other side of the column. Indicators left and right, of course. This dial on the outside here to adjust the speed of the wipers. When it's lined up like that, that is the automatic setting. The little switch in here, that is for the rear wiper. The engine start and stop button is down low on the left hand side of the steering wheel on the dashboard. You can see it in there. The little A next to that is the button to turn the engine, the eco start stop function off. So if you don't want the engine to stop at traffic lights, that's the button to disable that. The instrument cluster is completely digital and can be modified, and that is done with this little square on the steering wheel here. So pushing the home button brings up a menu, and then using this little touchpad on the steering wheel, we can swipe left or right to change the display. For the purpose of this, let's go to Styles and Display and click on the little square, and then we can change what the display looks like. So at the moment it's classic, we can choose sport. And you can see that it changes. Now when we're in this display, if we swipe to the right, we get this little row of dots. That means there's more information there. So if we swipe up and down, you can see that display changing. You can choose what you'd like to have in that display. we can do the same on the left. You see we get the row of dots, and we can change what that display looks like as well. If we push the home button, we can then choose what we'd like in the middle display. So for example, we might like to have our radio in there, and you can see we've got the radio in there. The cruise control is on the steering wheel. We use up or down to set it. This button here changes between speed limiter and cruise control. This adjusts the distance between you and the car in front of you when the cruise control is on. Cancel is obviously to turn it off, or touching the brake will also turn off the cruise control, and then resume will resume the cruise control. On the left hand side of the steering wheel we have another one of the touch pads and another home button, and these control the main display. So if I push home on the steering wheel, you'll see it brings up the menu on the main display, and from here we can swipe left and right through the different modes and screens that we can look at here. So for the purpose of this, let's have a look at navigation and click on that. The back arrow takes you back one step, back to the map. Now this big screen here is also a touch screen, so you might find it easier to use the touch screen for entering navigation. So for the purpose of this, we're going to click on where to, and we're going to go to Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. So we'll start with MEL. You see it's creating suggestions on the left, so maybe we've got that there already. Not quite enough yet, so we'll put in North Adelaide. And there's Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. We're happy with that, so we push OK. And away we go.
Your route is being calculated. Please proceed to the highlighted route.
Vehicle settings are also controlled through this main display here. Again, pushing home and then swiping on the touchpad or on the screen, or on the touchpad in the middle of the car will also allow you to swipe left and right. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to use the touch screen, and we're going to go to settings. Click on that, and here we can adjust things like the lights on the car. And these have ambient lighting, so we'll select that, and then we can choose our colour. And we might like the idea of red moon, so all the lighting in the car will change. You can adjust the brightness, or you can have brightness zones and have ambient lighting and emphasis at different brightnesses. Phone controls are on the steering column, on the steering wheel. So pushing up to answer the phone and down to hang up. Volume control is here, and then pushing the volume control is mute. These new cars are fitted with Mercedes-Benz User Experience, or MBUX, which is an integrated voice control system. The system's activated with the term, "Hey Mercedes."
How may I help you?
She'll ask you what you want, and then you can ask for it. To give you an example, let's try this. "Hey Mercedes."
How may I help you?
"Open the sunroof blind."
Okay, I'm opening the roller sun blinds.
Another example for you. "Hey Mercedes."
How may I help you?
"Change the interior light blue."
Okay, I'm changing the colour.
And another one. "Hey Mercedes, turn on the passenger's heated seat."
Seat heating for the front passenger is on.
Now, there's some examples of what you can do. There is more, but as you get to learn the car, you'll learn more about the voice control. The 360-degree camera comes up in the main display. As soon as the car's put into reverse, you get the camera. You've got guidelines there, so as we turn the steering wheel, you can see the guidelines move. We have the top view of the vehicle here, and then over to the side here we've got different cameras that we can select. So at the moment we've got our standard rear view camera. We can have a wider angle by selecting this here. Gives us a very wide angle out the back. This one here gives us both sides of the car. You see it splits that screen into two. I'll give you an example. You can see the front wheels turning there. And then we can have a look out the front, and then a wide view out the front. The head-up display is the image that you can see floating out in mid-air at the front of the car. That is controlled via the instrument cluster settings. So just to give you a look at that, we go down to here, push our home button, we get the menu, and you can see at the top there it says head-up display. So if we use our touchpad here, just swipe upwards, we get head-up display, click on that, and now hopefully you can see that we've got a blue box around the speedo out there. That means we can change what is in that display. You can see that changing, and then we can move to the left and we get another blue box and we can change what's in that display. A little bit hard to read, I'm sorry, with the background. And then we can go to the right and change what's in that display there as well. So that can be customized to you. Now a quick look at the air conditioning system. Should be fairly easy to work out. You've got the dual zone air conditioning left and right, and then the different buttons here to select the different modes. For example, this will be to recirculate. This will join the left and the right side together. This is your rear demister. You've got your front demister, your fan speed, and this is actually pretty good. So if you select the menu button here, it brings up a big menu up here. So from here you can then adjust the fan speed, direct the air where you want it to go, adjust the temperature, different for left and right perhaps. So that's also a nice way to operate the air conditioning system. There's plenty of storage space in the car, particularly up the front here. Just by moving this slide thing forward, you've got a couple of large cup holders, USB ports here as well, and you can see this one here is for the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And you see also, while we're in here, the rubber pad. This is for wireless charging. So if your phone is capable of it and you put your phone in there, it will wirelessly charge. In the middle of the console we have the touchpad, which I touched on a little bit earlier. We've also got shortcuts to some of the features that you might be using on the main display. For example, you can activate your navigation, your radio, your telephone can all be activated from here. Over here we can turn the cameras on, activate car settings, and there's a favorites button as well. This little thing is just a handrest. And in this particular car, and not all cars have this, is the adjustment for the air suspension. If your car has the 7-seat option, the third row of seats in the rear, then the middle row gets electric seats as well, working very much the same as the front seats do. A couple of things to consider in the rear of the car when you have the 7-seat package, which this car does, of course. First of all, with the cargo blind in place, you can't use the third row of seats, so that needs to be removed. To lift the third row of seats, first of all we need to get the middle row out of the way. So we have some switches here. You can hold that and you can see that seat moving forward. And then this one here as well. Starts with the headrest. Of course, if you weren't putting the third row of seats up and needed more space, then that's how you get the extra space in the back. Step is to move the middle row of seats forward. And then finally we reach over and lift that seat up. And you'll hear it quite clearly lock into place. Same for that one, and then you can stand the middle row back up. To load people into the middle row, we have a switch on the top of the seat, And normally you would do this from the curb side, so the passenger side of the car. And we just pull on this switch here. The seat moves forward, it stands up a little bit. And then hopefully plenty of room there to step through to the rear seats. That can also be done from the driver's side, but obviously much safer to do that from the passenger side of the car. The rear seats on the GLS are fully electric. Using the switch here, push that, and the seat will go down. And of course, same for the other side. The fuel filler is on the driver's side of the car, and to open the fuel filler we just push it and it opens. Please put diesel in the car. AdBlue will be normally taken care of during servicing, but if you are due for AdBlue, you'll get a message on the dashboard of the car. Your tyre pressure plaque is inside the fuel filler gauge if you're unsure of what sort of pressure should be in the tyres on the car.